I want to welcome everybody here tonight. Fortunately, we dodged a very significant storm here in Connecticut. Folks in Rhode Island were not quite as lucky. The damage there is pretty significant. We actually had some crews that were coming that we were able to detour to Rhode Island to help out our neighbors. I just want to start by introducing some of our special guests here. I want to first Selectman Fortuna and Chief Spera, who have hosted us here at the satellite facility, which is great. In addition, I want to recognize Senator Needleman and Representative Devin Carney. So thank you. And joining me is also our President, Craig Hallstrom. So yesterday, as you know, we were forecasting a historic storm. It was going to come in here and cause significant damage to the state of Connecticut. That storm did shift, and when that storm shifted, obviously a significant reduction in the number of damage that took place. A couple of things I want to do. I want to recognize the 9,300 Eversource employees that turned out here for this storm. Last night, we housed 6,000 folks here in Connecticut. We've fed 10,000 folks today. We had meals. This morning, I had the pleasure of having breakfast with crews out of Mississippi and Ohio. They were up in the hotel lobby at 5:30 this morning, eager to get out there. I had to tell them to get their rest because the storm isn't coming for a little bit longer. But I just want to thank them. They drove 19 hours to come here and help the people of Connecticut, and I'm very, very proud of that. I'm going to turn this over to Craig Hallstrom, who is our president here in Connecticut and is our operating officer who oversaw the recovery here. We still do have outage, and we're going to work around the clock until we get everybody back. So, Craig?
Thanks, Joe. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So as Joe said, we did sustain some outage today. Right now we have approximately 27,000 customers remaining without power. We've restored about 31,000. We have approximately 1,700 crews across the 24 hours working to get those last remaining customers picked up. We're out doing DA just to look at, now that we can get out on the street and the storm has passed, to see what kind of damage we have out there, to be sure that we have the right stock and the right things in place. But right now the damage does not look severe. We have about a dozen poles, 140 sections of wire down, a couple dozen transformers. So, given what we thought was going to happen yesterday, today is a pretty good day. In terms of the duration, as we said yesterday, we really thought that it was going to be a much more significant storm, and we declared what we said was a level 2. And a level 2 is very significant with a duration of approximately 8 to 21 days. And I know the 21 days has been spoken a lot about. So we wake up this morning and clearly it's not that level of storm. It's more of a level 4 storm for us, which is about 5 days. And even now when we look at what's happened and we're out looking at the system, we really think by the end of tomorrow night, the far majority of customers will be restored. There's a global ETR that is being communicated for the last customers, perhaps Wednesday at noon, but I really think with the crews and the things that we have in play, we'll really be able to bring that into probably more Tuesday. But again, I think the far majority of customers will be restored by late tomorrow night.
All righty. I'd like to recognize the first selectman, if you'd like to say a few words, and then we'll get the chief.
Thank you, Joe and Craig, very much, and thank you, Eversource, for staging here. It certainly gave our residents in the area a great sense of comfort that Eversource was here and ready to respond. Anytime there is any kind of an emergency, whether it's a snowstorm, whether it's a tropical storm, whether it's COVID, we rely on a team, whether it's our legislature, emergency management, youth and family services, and Eversource has shown itself to be a great team member. Nobody's here today to cast blame on what's happened in the past or take credit for a storm that really didn't happen. But we were ready today. The governor's team was ready. We were ready locally. And I just want to thank Eversource for being here and staging here. Thank you, Senator Needleman, for all you've done at the state legislature. I want to say thank you to our chief for running our emergency operations center. and I'm glad everybody came through this safely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Chief, would you like to say?
Absolutely. Thank you
Great,
very much.
thank you, Chief.
So clearly, from a public safety standpoint, we are joined at the hip with Eversource in celebrating that this was not a severe storm as it was predicted to be just 24 hours ago. I am pleased to report that what I saw, boots on the ground here in Old Saybrook at the Eversource staging area, was a true example of lessons learned and preparedness taken to an all-new level by Eversource. And so if this storm was as severe as it was predicted to be, I firmly believe that we would have seen an unprecedented response from this utility. So we enjoyed working with them. We hope that our relationship stays strong and that they always consider Old Saybrook as a possible staging area for the future.
Thank you. Senator Needleman.
Thank you, Joe. So I also want to echo what Chief Spera said. On the ground, this time it worked the way it's supposed to work, and there were lessons learned after ECS last year. We did pass some legislation. I'd like to think it helped incentivize working together a little more closely. But you could see the value of pre-staging assets within a town prior to a storm, because we were able in Essex to respond to events as they happen. Not restoring power, but putting out fires on poles and all kinds of other problems that come up in the middle of a storm. I would like to thank Eversource. I'd like to thank everybody that participated in this, including Governor Lamont, who also has been part of making sure that we are prepared and ready. This storm turned out to be a false alarm, but this one could have been much more catastrophic than anything I've seen in 30 or 40 years. So thank you all for all the hard work.
Thank you, Senator. Representative Carney, please.
Thank you very much, Joe. I'm just happy to say that we were able to say bonjour and au revoir to Henri rather quickly. But in all seriousness, thank you to Eversource for preparing the way they did during this storm. We'd hope for that type of preparation in the future. I know the storm didn't turn out what we thought it was going to be, but that preparation was there. I'd also really like to thank all of the first responders, especially in the communities I represent, but across the state. Of course, all of the line crews. I mean, these men and women coming hundreds of miles to make sure that Connecticut residents have power, or that they can clean up trees and things like that. So a big thank you to them, and of course all the municipal leaders. This really was a much better outcome than most of us thought. I know there's a lot of families out there that are relieved, a lot of seniors out there that are relieved that they can go home and turn on the lights, and that power will be there.
Thank you. We'll open it up to questions now. If anyone has any questions.
Joe, the governor has said that up to 90% of customers without power will be restored by tomorrow morning. Is that a figure that you can hit?
Tomorrow morning, I don't know. I think I talked to the governor myself. I talked to him about a end of the day tomorrow, but I do think you'll see a significant dent in it by tomorrow morning. So yeah, I'm confident with that, but not tomorrow morning.
What are some of the communities that you're really focusing on that were the hardest hit?
Well, I'll let Craig talk a little bit about some of the tough communities that were hard hit.
Yeah, so it's the eastern part of our service territory, so our Danielson Service Center, our East Hampton Service Center, Lisbon, Canterbury, those areas were particularly hard hit. Those communities that, were on the coast and bared the brunt of the winds as the hurricane came on shore.
Are you guys aware of any hospitals or nursing homes that are right now without power?
I think all the hospitals, we've been tracking the critical facilities, and on the governor's call there was one hospital, and I believe that's been restored. It was, I can't remember, yeah.
All right.
Do you feel, it was referenced by several people, that the response this time around was different than it was in East? Did you feel added pressure today or leading up today to change the response?
Yeah, so we always look at previous storms, how we performed, and we've got a lot of input, obviously, from Isaias. It's no surprise. We've obviously heard a lot of feedback. Senator Needleman has been actively involved in that. We've put a lot of systems in place around community portals so communities can interact with us. We have two folks, one public safety, one community liaison in every community. So we have a truck, we have a line truck in every single community that's been impacted. So those are the types of things that we've put into place, and we certainly, we certainly prepared, and we were pleased with the preparations that we made for this storm. So yes.
You talked about unprecedented resources and never before seen amount of crews. Can we expect that
Yeah, so what was different this time is Andre actually did not come up through Florida as it usually does. That freed up resources that wouldn't ordinarily be available. But we didn't even want to wait for that. I made a national plea on Thursday to our companies, and we brought crews in a lot from the West and from Canada that got here, so that we weren't dependent on those crews from the South. We actually had additional 600 crews coming that we were able to give to Rhode Island because that's how prepared we were. We had so many crews coming in here. So in the future, it really is about the track of the storm. I mean, no company's going to give you resources if they think that it's coming their way. So I think you will see a very strong response no matter what Mother Nature throws at us.
What happens at these mobile response centers until the end of the storm, and how long will this be set up here?
This will be set up until all the customers in this region are on.
What investments are you making to harden the grid?
Sure. So we do a lot of, Craig had mentioned DA. And what DA is, distributed automation. It allows us to do a lot of switching so we can isolate outages down to the smallest kind of common denominator. Obviously, we've upgraded all of our poles, our wires. We've made significant investment. I think the thing you want to look at in any type of a major event is what happened with the transmission grid. If we lose the supply into Connecticut, it's game over. Our transmission system has been hard. So hard, even in Isaias, we did not really lose transmission. It was really local tree damage that brought down infrastructure in communities that caused these outages. So I think our investments have paid off. Our reliability numbers in Connecticut, if you look at them, we'll hold our record up to anybody. They've been unbelievably improved over the past 5 to 7 years.
That's why a lot of people talk about putting the lines underground, but is that realistic?
Well, the lines at the ground, I mean, there are areas where it works, but I will tell you that we were looking at storm surges and flooding. That would not have helped anybody if the flooding is going to be the biggest problem to kind of get access to those lines. So, yeah, we have to look at that, and we do look at that. But it's not just Eversource. I mean, you've got to look at multiple other areas. You've got telecommunication, you have cable, you have sometimes fire alarm on the top there. You've got to get easements in the street. It requires customers who don't have upgraded service to upgrade the service. It's a big undertaking, but it's certainly something we look at, and if there's opportunities for us to harden the system through undergrounding, we'll do that. But it's very expensive.
Do you expect any increases in outages overnight? I know there's concern about more rain and flooding, and that could lead to more down trees.
Yeah, not significant. I mean, I think there probably could be trees that are hanging on lines that might let go, but I don't think you'll see the numbers. I mean, we've already restored over 25,000 customers. We're at 27,000 now, so we probably got close to 60,000 customers impacted during this storm. But there will be the onesies, twosies, I think, that we'll see that will come down on circuits, yes. Well, we've made a commitment to the governor that we think most folks will be back tomorrow, and there will be some stragglers that will drag us into Wednesday, but we feel very good about tomorrow. I did look at the numbers. I looked at the number of troubles. What we do is we look at there's 27,000 customers out. That's associated with a certain number of jobs. How many jobs? And we have eyes on every single one of these jobs. These jobs can be very complex. They could involve, setting 10 poles, 20 poles, sections of wire. So it's not as simple as just hitting a switch. It's going to require time. But I think tomorrow you'll see a significant dent in the number of customers that get restored. Anybody else? Well, I want to thank all of you for coming out. I appreciate it, and I wish we always saw each other in better circumstances. So have a great night. God bless. Thank you all. We love this town. We love this town, Chief. We're coming in here. It's the place.